Pain doesn't whisper, it screams. Especially at night. When the lights go off, the house is quiet, and you're left alone with your thoughts. That's when the voices get louder. Not voices you hear with your ears, but the ones that echo in your soul. You're not enough. God's not coming through. You're too broken to be fixed. You pray, but the silence feels like abandonment. You worship, but heaven seems locked. And deep down, you begin to wonder, if God is with me, why does it feel like hell is winning? That's not your imagination. That's war. Hard seasons are more than bad luck. They're battlegrounds. When your finances collapse, your relationships break, your body aches, and your mind is flooded with anxiety. It's not just a bad week. It's a full-on spiritual assault. Ephesians 6:12 says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces of evil." The enemy doesn't care about your comfort. He cares about your collapse. And here's the strategy. When life gets hard, hell gets loud. Because the enemy knows, if he can steal your peace, he can distort your purpose. The wilderness is where the volume turns up. When Jesus was hungry, weak, and alone in the desert, that's when Satan came to tempt him, Matthew 4. Not when he was strong, but when he was tired. Likewise, the enemy waits until you're drained to say the ugliest things. He doesn't say, "Don't go to church." He says, "You can go, but it won't change anything." He doesn't say, "Don't believe." He says, "Believe all you want. God won't come through for you." That's how hell speaks. Not with fire and fury, but with doubt and delay. Too many believers think they're just tired or just emotional. But what if your exhaustion is spiritual? What if your discouragement is a targeted attack? Because Satan doesn't need to destroy you outright. He just needs you to give up. That's why the mind is the battlefield. 2 Corinthians 10:5 tells us to take every thought captive to obey Christ. You can't silence hell's voice with willpower. You need truth. You need armor. You need weapons that aren't of this world. Elijah's story, the roar after the fire. Elijah called down fire from heaven, a prophet of unmatched boldness. But right after the victory came the whisper of death. Jezebel threatened him, and Elijah ran, not from fear, but from exhaustion. He cried out to God, "I've had enough. Take my life." 1 Kings 19:4. This wasn't just depression. It was spiritual exhaustion. It was spiritual warfare hitting hardest after spiritual success. And notice, God didn't rebuke him. He fed him. He let him rest. And he spoke, not in the earthquake or fire or wind, but in a gentle whisper. When hell gets louder, heaven still whispers. And that whisper is enough to raise the dead soul back to life. You don't win spiritual battles by pretending you're strong. You win by remembering who fights for you. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. Stillness isn't passivity, it's surrender. You surrender not to the pain, but to the presence of God in the midst of it. Here's how you fight back. 1. Speak the word out loud, not just in your head. Speak truth until lies get drowned. Psalm 91, Romans 8, Isaiah 41:10. Let hell know you're not listening anymore. 2. Pray raw, not perfect. God isn't moved by polished prayers. He's moved by honest ones. Cry, groan, scream if you have to. Heaven can handle the real you. 3. Find your faith family. Isolation is the enemy's playground. You need believers who will fight with you and for you. Not to fix you, but to remind you who you are. Just because you're in a battle doesn't mean you're defeated. In fact, the presence of a battle often proves the presence of a breakthrough. The enemy doesn't fight people who are already defeated. He fights those who are on the edge of something sacred. If hell is getting louder in your life, it might be because heaven is drawing closer than you think. Let them hear you pray. So let the enemy yell. Let darkness roar. Let the storm rage. But don't stay silent. Let your worship rise above the noise. Let your praise shake the gates of hell. Let your faith speak louder than fear. And if all you can do is whisper, "Jesus, help me," That whisper is enough to shake eternity. Because in this war, you don't fight for victory. You fight from it. Jesus already won. Forever. Now it's your turn to stand.